moving and letting go of stuff is always stressful, and we try and lower that stress. But sometimes people are clinging to the stress. Like that is the thing that's keeping them going, and it's where they have their control. And so that is sometimes a thing.
Yeah. You're watching A3 Aging Ann Arbor, where we talk about aging and what you need to know. I'm Faye Molitor.
And I'm Sheila Doden.
Welcome to the show. So welcome back to A3 Aging Ann Arbor. We are continuing our conversation with Sharon McRill. There's so much to talk about, Sharon, so we are so excited that you're able to stay and continue this conversation.
Well, there is a lot to say about stuff.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So one of the things we didn't get to ask you on the last episode was, what's one of the most interesting clients you've worked with?
There have been so many interesting clients. We have moved national politicians, national musicians. We have moved a lion and a tiger, but not a red wing or a piston.
Oh my gosh!
We have moved lots of people, but there is someone who really stands out, and this gentleman had been collecting political memorabilia for 70 years, and since he was a teenager. And so when we were hired to empty his house, he had moved into a senior community. And when we were hired, we found that there were more than 100,000 pieces of political stuff. Some of it was historically important, like there were signatures from every president, from Thomas Jefferson all the way through Obama, like real signed, certified, like real. And most of them were hanging in the guest bathroom, which was kind of funny. And
that is kind of funny.
But there was just so much stuff. And I could tell you stories upon stories upon stories about things we found inside this house.
Holy cow.
But most of it, I would say 2/3 of it went to museums. And so they went to Monticello for Jefferson, and to Hyde Park for Roosevelt, and to Plains, Georgia for the Jimmy Carter stuff, and to Chicago for the Obama stuff, and to Alabama for the Clinton stuff.
Yeah.
And obviously this guy was a Democrat, but he also had Republican stuff. It was fascinating. And so when you're in that kind of a collection, you are literally handling history. You are handling things that are historically important and may not exist anywhere.
Oh, wow.
And so the thing that stands out most about his collection is he had one of 6 copies of the Emancipation Proclamation. And it was hanging in his apartment where he was living at the senior community, just hanging there. And my guess is that most of the people who were his caregivers didn't realize that it was real.
Right.
Like literally a priceless document hanging in his apartment. And
I don't know that I would have realized.
Yeah.
You know, you see it hanging there and it just doesn't even strike you as it could possibly be, real. Yeah.
So in that kind of a collection, you can't just start distributing it.
Sure.
The family can come and take what they want because it's theirs. It's owned by the family. But when the family wants to distribute something like that and you want to give it to a museum cannot just accept things. You have to have them appraised. And the museum can only accept things after the appraisal has been documented by a professional appraiser. So that is what had to happen. So first there were months of appraising. First there was months of sorting. Then there was months of appraising, and then things had to be packed up and sent to those museums. And the son decided, rather than hiring a moving company and paying the extra insurance, that he was going to drive those things himself to those museums, which was really fascinating. And
what a legacy to his dad.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
But this particular gentleman started the Peace Corps. Like,
oh my gosh.
like he was really something.
Yeah.
And he lived
Yeah.
here in Ann Arbor, and I got to meet him.
What
and he
a
was
privilege, huh?
He was an amazing
Yeah.
human being.
Yeah.
Really amazing.
That's super cool. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that one really stands out to me.
Yeah, I can understand that. What would be maybe one of the more challenging clients?
Lots of those too, I'm
There
sure.
have been lots of those.
Yeah.
And there's a couple that stand out.
Yeah.
And there's always, because moving and letting go of stuff is always stressful, and we try and lower that stress, but
Sure.
sometimes people are clinging to the stress. Like that is the thing that's keeping them going, and it's where they have their control. And so that is sometimes a thing.
Yeah.
And so we were working with this lady. She was a psychologist, and she was a hoarder, and she had sold her home, and so there was a closing date that was pending, and she had to be out by a certain date. She decided that she was going to go off her meds during this process, and she really kind of went off the deep end and threw a phone at one of my staff. And so I get a call from my team saying, we're leaving the site. And I said, what happened? And they said, she threw a phone at one of the team. And I said, no, I support that. So what happens in those situations is it's not that we didn't want to do the job, but she wasn't going to be cooperative. Now, on the back end of this, we know that this house is pending, right? And so I picked up the phone and called the real estate agent and said, hey, I don't want your deal to fall apart. So I want you to know we're walking off the job. It's not done. Here's what needs to happen next. And she said, oh, I'm going to send my husband right over there. The agent said that.
Okay.
And I said, you really need to send him with another witness, because this lady is not in her right mind. And so it doesn't become a he said, she said kind of situation. And the agent said, oh my gosh, thank you. So it's not just about supporting the clients, but sometimes it's about supporting the professionals that we're also working with to make sure that their money and their situations that they've spent months setting up don't fall apart.
Well, and that they're in the loop and they know what's happening.
Yeah.
What they're walking into.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
they're not walking in blind. That's
Right,
important.
exactly.
Yeah. Holy
Exactly.
cow. Man.
So that was a tough situation. Like the lady wouldn't, we would show up to work at 9 and she wouldn't get out of bed till 10. So like my team would be standing there waiting for her to open the door for an hour.
Oh,
and,
jeez. Yeah.
Right. And she'd say, oh no, I just can't. Even though we agreed that we would start at 9 and we would have, and she agreed that we would start at 9. And,
Sure.
So after you talked to the realtor, do you know what the end result was with it?
well, I know that the deal went through, that the agent got the rest of our project. And we were like within a day of completing. We were really close.
Okay.
So there wasn't a lot to do, but it was enough that it would have made the deal fall through.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a rough one. Sure. I'm sure there's a lot over the time that you've been
So you
doing
mentioned when we were talking about one of the most interesting that, you've helped all these different people. Do you go outside of Ann Arbor? Do you work outside of Ann Arbor?
Yep.
What's your reach?
Yeah, we work all over the U.S.
Okay.
And so we were just hired within the last week to do a job in Florida. So we're going to Florida in December. We were hired this past summer for a job in Kentucky where a lady had a large flood and she couldn't live in her home for almost 9 months because there was so much water damage. Wow. And insurance ended up covering us.
Oh, that's great.
But we went and packed everything up, and she was very, very specific about, I need my library to be back in the order it was, because she's a international business coach. And so she travels all over, and she needs certain books and certain documentation to be where it needs to be. And so we set it up so that we took so many pictures so that everything could go back exactly where it was supposed to go.
Yeah.
And I'll make sure that you see a picture of, like, we have this picture of one of my team, like, looking at her phone, looking at making sure that the books are in the right order.
Wow. That's cool. Yeah. Attention to detail. That's a beautiful thing.
And it's not every case like that, but and then we packed her up in March, and then the renovation happened, and then we went back in August and put her house back together.
Wow, that's super cool.
And we're bidding a couple jobs right now in Chicago. One is a very high profile person I can't talk about. And a couple are just hoarder jobs where the family has so many storage units that they can't deal with it all.
Oh, wow.
And so you'll go to storage units, you'll go wherever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. If it's an outside, like out in the elements storage unit, then it's weather dependent. But if it's a climate control where there's, it's inside and you can be inside sorting, then it's less weather dependent.
Okay. Yeah. Super cool. Yeah.
Shifting gears a little bit, in the last episode, you mentioned your handyman service pilot in November, and you talked a little bit about it, but I know your husband is part of your handyman division, right? He runs that for you, and it's a subscription service. And so do you want to talk a little bit more about entailing what that looks like?
Yeah, what exactly do the handymen do?
Well, so we call them the handy crew because we have handy men and handy women.
Right.
And, yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Betty. Yeah.
Yes. The Bettys are also handy. So people can hire us. Like, it doesn't have to be part of the subscription service. Like, they can just hire our handy crew.
Okay.
You need a deck repaired. You need a wall painted. You need something done on your house. You need your gutters cleaned. Absolutely, we do that. But the subscription service is new and different, and we're excited about this. So there can be once a year where you pay for a full day of 2 people to come to your home, and that includes cleaning your gutters, changing your furnace filters, making sure you're, the basic stuff.
Yes.
Changing those light bulbs that are way up high that you can't get to because they're 20 feet in the air.
Yeah.
Changing out the batteries and the smoke detectors, making sure that your house is safe. Did you know, most people don't know this, that you have to have your fire extinguishers recharged every 3 years?
No.
Yes.
Wow. Good to know. Thanks.
Every 3 years.
So you have like a pre-list of things that you can go in and say, hey, these are the types of things that we can help you with. We can do this. Is there anything else you're thinking of that we could do?
Well, no.
No. Okay.
Okay. So in the 1 time a year, we're going to do just the maintenance.
Gotcha.
In the 4 times a year, and those are seasonal, those are also just maintenance on the house. It's not fixing your broken banister. It's not, like fixing the siding. It's not repairing a window. It's none of those things.
Right.
It's about the maintenance on the house.
Right.
So like regular seasonal maintenance, and we have checklists for all of those for each season that will take up a whole day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we visit each house because every house is a little different. If you need your storm windows taken off and put back on because it's an old house, then that is included in that seasonal maintenance.
Okay.
Or putting screens on and taking the windows off, that kind of stuff. But it's not repairing the hole in the wall. That's not what that
gotcha.
is.
It's the basic stuff.
It's
understood.
basic maintenance of
home,
your house.
Outside,
inside and outside.
In.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Gotcha.
Yep.
No, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. And many people don't know what regular maintenance looks like.
Yeah.
Of just keeping your house up to date.
Right.
And then the highest level of this is the monthly service. And that's where you have a team of 2 come to your house and do we're still going to do the seasonal, the 4 seasonal maintenance, but you are also going to have 8 additional days spread out throughout the year to do whatever you want.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And so that's where you can add those special projects. You can have the wallpaper taken down. You can have that room repainted. You can have a new light fixture hung. You can have, things redone in your house, and you're paying a one-time, and that's where we give a discounted rate.
Okay.
At that every month rate.
Sure. Yeah.
So is it the same straight across for everybody, straight across the board, cost-wise? Or does it vary depending on with the
the
maintenance?
package.
Yeah,
Are there
it varies on the
packages?
package
Okay.
because it's how many
Sure.
times we're coming.
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. No, that, I love
and we
that.
haven't quite worked out the money on that,
Yeah.
so I'm not going to talk about
No.
what that
No,
costs.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that, yeah.
We're still
Understood.
figuring out, and it will be on our website starting in November.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
super cool. That's a great service, because I can't tell you how many times we get calls and they are looking for that kind of help. And we don't do gutters and we don't clean windows.
And you shouldn't.
Right.
That's not your
So
job.
it's
You're
a
caring
beautiful
for people.
thing, because
Yeah.
now we know who to send them to.
And the other thing that we're going to be doing in 2024, and I'm just going to kind of put this out there,
Yeah.
is that we will be offering also a subscription service for organizing.
Oh.
So you can do a once a year, you can do a quarterly, where you want maybe your pantries and a few closets and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Or you can buy a year of organizing, and you can have that garage or that basement
Yeah.
or that attic, and we just come once a month and work towards those
Oh,
projects.
that's so cool.
Yeah.
I think everyone can use that. We like to accumulate things, you know?
You think?
You think you're on top of it, and then all of a sudden you're like, holy cow, where did all this stuff come from? So, yeah.
Closets
that's
are the
great.
worst in our house.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
things just get kind of tucked away. I mean, we're pretty good about it, but there's still
Yeah.
stuff. So
And so that's really great for older folks who've
Sure.
accumulated a lot. It's
Yeah.
for busy professionals, busy parents, and it's also for people who travel a lot and just can't keep up on their stuff. And
Yeah.
so those are the folks that we think will be a good fit for that.
For
That's
that
super cool.
subscription. Yeah. Yeah, because if you're not home, you don't have time to do those things. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love.
And it's cheaper than hiring like a person
Sure.
to stay in your house and
Yeah.
take care of those things.
Yeah.
Like you can have just a service come in and do it.
Yeah.
Well, and when you were talking about the maintenance things, like people will buy like their subscriptions for maintenance on their water heaters and their furnaces and pay, a monthly nominal fee to, well, I don't know if it's nominal, I've never done it, but to like DTE
Right.
or, whatever, Sears used to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So, to have the same person coming in to handle all of those things instead of having to call multiple people is a beautiful thing. Yeah.
And we're also going to, so say we notice, oh my goodness, this is something.
Sure.
There's a
a problem.
There's mold here,
Yeah.
or there's your chimney. The reason you can't have a fire in your chimney is that it's full of creosote. That's what builds up. The wood
yeah.
builds up, and it needs to
Yeah.
be swept.
Sure.
And so those are the kinds of things where we have literally hundreds of vendors that we work with that we would just say, okay, can we bring in somebody and get you a quote
Sure.
to have that taken care of? So it's not just us taking care of your house. It's us also bringing in the specific professionals for things that come up as we see them.
Yeah. And that just, I have a question about the things that come up. So have you had experiences where you've gone into like attic spaces or whatever, wherever, and there's bat infestations or there's beehives that are out of control or hornets' nests, that kind of thing?
Not beehives
Okay.
or bats, although
Okay.
we see bats.
Sure.
I've never seen an infestation
Yeah.
in a house.
Yeah.
But one time we were in a house over in Birmingham, and I lifted up. We were in an attic that was over a garage, and it was a huge attic. So the attic, you went up from the garage into above the garage.
Okay.
But the length of the attic was the entire length of the house, and it was a 2,500 square foot house.
Wow.
So it was a very long, skinny attic. And I picked up a piece of plywood that was kind of askew, and there was literally thousands of flying ants.
Wow.
Under there. And so, right. And I went, whoa.
Yeah.
And so I slowly picked it up and took a video and sent it to our decision maker and said, hey, can I please bring in an exterminator? This is what's going on in your attic. And they were like, oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah. And so that's where we stop work when we see stuff like that. So if there's asbestos, if there's mold, we have it tested because there are literally over 100,000 different kinds of mold, and most of them are not toxic to humans.
Okay.
Most of them. But there are a few that are very toxic to humans. And so you want to have it tested to make sure that you're not living with mold spores in your house that are dangerous.
Gosh,
and there are folks that test that all day long. It's very easy for them to test. It takes them usually 24 hours to test and get you a result.
Right. Well, and you're making sure that your team's safe. I think that's really the most important piece of that.
Yeah.
I mean, you're helping the people, but you want to make sure that your staff is safe.
Absolutely. And they recognize that too. They're like, we don't work in dangerous homes. And that's part of this is we have to say, okay, we'll do this job as long as this thing gets taken care of.
Sure. Yeah. Have you ever had somebody refuse to take care of that thing and then you just
Yep, absolutely. Nope, I'm not fixing it.
Yeah.
Or they won't remediate mold. We say, okay, that's fine. That's your choice and it's your house.
Yeah.
But we can't do the project.
We can't continue. How unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
happens.
Yeah, sure.
We have it happen too. So
we just had a lady in Jackson that she had a very severe breakup. And she couldn't, emotionally, she could not be in her house anymore. And so she hadn't lived in it in months. And mice moved in. And so there was a significant mouse infestation. And so we brought in exterminators first. And then the team, mice can be quite dangerous. Their urine can be very dangerous to people. And so... So you have to be very careful around mouse urine and mouse species.
I just didn't know that. Yeah.
And so you want to wear gloves, you want to wear masks, things like that. And we had that taken care of. And the lady had no idea. I mean, she knew that there were mice in the house, but she didn't know to what level. She didn't know it was dangerous.
Wow.
And so those are the kinds of things that sometimes people just don't know.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, I had no clue. I mean, obviously... but I didn't realize it was like that dangerous to humans.
Yeah, it can be.
Wow, that's crazy stuff. Yeah.
All good stuff. Sharon, all good stuff. It's so interesting. We both like
the joys of Betty Brigade.
Right. Yay.
Mice and flying ants.
Well, I know, I mean, we've talked before, but every time we talk to you, I learn just a little bit more. And the subscription service for the Handyman, that's a really cool thing.
Absolutely.
It's very cool. So thanks for sharing that.
It's unprecedented. There is nothing like that out there, Sharon. So
thanks.
We will absolutely be referring our clients for that service because I think they would utilize it. It is pretty cool. So we touched on the eco-friendly. I know it was like a quick touch because I mentioned it kind of at the last minute in the last episode. So maybe we could touch a little more on that.
Sure. So recycling is a big part of our culture, and we actually measure how much we recycle, how many yards of recycling that we take away in shredding, in glass, plastic, metal, and paper, in all the places that we recycle, we track it. And so we have this thing every February called the Betrospective, and it talks about what we did the year before, and it always has how much we recycled, how much money we found in people's homes.
Oh,
and
wow.
How, what we did, things like that. And
yeah.
One of the there's a couple of organizations that I love to point out where you can recycle. One of them is called the Brides Project, and it's you know about them.
My daughter's best friend bought her wedding dress from there.
Yeah, and so so you can donate gently used, in good shape, classic, let's say classic, not crazy wedding dresses to these folks, and they clean them up and they resell them to brides, and the proceeds from those go to help cancer patients who cannot afford treatment. And it's not just wedding dresses, it's also mother of the bride's dresses, it's bridesmaids dresses, like there's lots of dresses.
There were so many dresses. It was there was a lot of dresses.
Yeah,
so to weed through, I mean, they're packed in there, and they sell them at like very significantly reduced prices. So it was a cool place. Yeah,
it's really cool, and we like them a lot. But there's another organization out there. So because there's so many fur coats here in Michigan, a lot of fur coats are not stored properly, and when they're not stored properly, the pelt dries out, and what happens is that the fur starts to fall out of the coat, and it's no longer viable. Like a furrier cannot buy back a coat where the pelt has started to dry. They just won't.
It's not salvageable.
It's not salvageable.
Okay.
So what do you do with these fur coats?
Right.
So there's an organization out there called Coats for Cubs, and Coats for Cubs takes in the fur coats that are falling apart or maybe starting to lose their fur, and when Mama bear or Mama fox or Mama deer gets hit by a car or killed by a hunter, they know that the mama has been nursing because they can tell, and they go find the babies, and the babies can be returned to the wild more easily if they sleep on real fur. So these fur coats that would have been trashed are helping baby animals return back to the wild. I love that. It's so
that's cool.
Happy.
I love it.
So it's such a cool thing. And Coats for Cubs is not like a building. It's people who foster these baby animals in their homes and in their barns, and help return them to the wild. So when you look up Coats for Cubs, it's a whole bunch of addresses of just people that take in these coats.
Wow. I never knew that existed.
Yes, I collect vendors the way other people collect stuff.
That's super, super cool.
Wow.
I love that. I will be looking up Coats for Cubs. It might be something I do in my retirement.
It's very cute. There's a lot of other organizations out there, and we really look for vendors that do unusual things.
Sure.
Because we come across so many unusual situations.
Well, okay, so give us an example of not that you just didn't, that was pretty unusual, but like, is there any other ones that you can think of that are super unusual of vendors that offer some kind of crazy stuff, crazy services, whatever?
We have a vendor who specializes in pop culture. So he specializes in movie posters and baseball cards and lunch boxes and all that kind of kitschy, collectible stuff that doesn't always sell well at an estate sale. And so those are the kinds of things that sometimes you have a hard time finding a vendor for. And we find vendors.
So he collects them or he sells them?
He resells them.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah, and one of the things most people don't recognize is that when vendors are taking things in, they are buying them at wholesale prices to resell them at retail prices. So people are not going to get top dollar from a dealer. That is not how it works. They will get top dollar from a consumer.
Right.
But they will not get top dollar from a dealer.
Right.
Because the dealer has to turn around and resell
gotta
it
make
for
a profit.
Sure. Yeah.
But the dealer will often buy it faster. You can find dealers that specialize in different things. And so when we are emptying homes, we are emptying like just mass quantities of stuff. We have to find people that can take on big amounts of things.
That's what I was just going to say. So it's not like they're going to piecemeal it and pick through it. When you say I've got a lot of, like, I don't mean just a lot.
Pop
I mean
culture.
a whole lot of this particular
whatever it is
paraphernalia, and we're selling it all to you, then you don't have to be that person that goes through it all. They do that for you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And so they take the entire collection and they say, I'm taking the collection and I will pay X amount of dollars for this collection. And we're not the ones saying yes or no to that person. It's always our decision maker. So that might be an attorney, it might be a family member, or it might be our homeowner saying yes or no, I will take that amount of money for that thing.
How cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. You have lots of stories, Sharon.
Oh, I have so many stories. I have stories that I will not share because they're a little too racy to be shared on the show.
Yeah.
But maybe give me a glass of bourbon and I'll tell you.
Okay.
That's for another time.
That's for another time and not on the radio.
Not on the radio. Not on the internet.
I've seen it on the internet.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just not us.
That's true.
Oh, cool.
Well, let's keep it all clean.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes,
right.
for sure. Yeah. Well, you do. That's what
Squeaky
you
clean.
do, Sharon. Yeah.
That is
Keeping it
true.
all clean. Well, we appreciate you. I think there's so many people that appreciate you and your team and what you guys do because they're just, it seriously is unprecedented. And you guys are always looking for new ways of offering services to folks that are outside the box with the subscriptions and all of that. And man, we can't thank you enough for what you do.
Well, thank you. And I'm just, I didn't know that this is what I would be doing with my life.
Yeah.
And here I am helping people. It's like archaeology. Like going through people's
Sure.
stuff is like, and sometimes we know more about them than their family does.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah. That's interesting
very
too.
true.
That's another show for
that's
sure.
a whole, we won't. We'll do that another time.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Oh my gosh. Well, can you tell people, Sharon, one more time how they can contact you and your team?
Absolutely. So bettybrigade.com, and you can go there to request a consult, or you can call us at 734-994-1000. There's lots of information on our website. I also have a best-selling book called Downsizing the Silver Tsunami, Who to Call and Where Does the Stuff Go? And that is available on Amazon, on Kindle, and also on Audible if you like to listen to your books.
Very
Awesome.
cool.
You are a jack of all trades. Yeah, that's fantastic. Okay, so we do have a question we ask every guest. It is, what does aging well look like for you and why?
That is a good question.
You said you couldn't be stumped.
That's true. Aging well. When I see my clients aging well, I see them healthy,
Yes.
that they are taking care of their body, mind, and spirit, that they are emotionally adjusted. They recognize that things are changing in their lives and they're rolling with those changes.
Yeah.
And so I hope and I strive in my own life to be there.
Yeah.
And I am a prematurely gray person. And so in my early 50s, I let my color go. And so I am
Beautiful.
well, it's all curled up today, but that was a big switch.
Sure.
Like, to decide, okay, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, we have another one here that
Yeah,
decided
this was
to do
late
that
40s.
too.
So
Yeah.
it's good.
For sure. Yeah.
But you were blonde.
No.
You were not
No,
blonde.
No.
she was not blonde.
Oh, I
yeah.
thought you were blonde. Okay.
Yeah.
Red for a long time.
Yeah.
'cause
I mean, it looks like there's some blonde in it right now, but it's
It's heat.
definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
I do understand. Yeah.
I have not gotten there yet. I'm going to diet. Not to say there's not gray there, but that is really, that's inspirational. It is.
Well, I hope everyone could be there. And I see so many people that are not there, where they are fighting aging every
Yeah.
step of the way. And I'm not saying, like, if you want to go get Botox, if you want to have work done on your body, if you want to, all of that stuff, if that's what makes you happy,
Sure.
then go for it.
Yeah.
But But I really hope that people can, mentally,
Embrace it.
mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, just be good with aging, because it's happening to
It's
everybody.
inevitable.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's a
absolutely.
struggle if you're not with it,
Oh, for
because
sure.
it's going to be a really hard thing.
Yeah.
I love that.
I do too.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us
Oh, thank you for having
for
me.
our extended session.
Yeah.
There was so much to talk about with you.
All the stuff.
Yeah,
All the stuff.
It's all good stuff is what it is. So we really enjoyed talking with you and having this conversation, and we hope you all will too. We would hope also that you would subscribe and click the bell button. And this episode was sponsored by Senior Helpers Ann Arbor.
Bye.
That was A3 Aging Ann Arbor, your source for all things aging.
Please like, share, and subscribe for more episodes. Thanks for watching.
This episode was sponsored by Senior Helpers of Ann Arbor.